Welcome back to the podcast, everybody.
Welcome back.
We're starting off with a laugh.
Oh, my goodness. It's great to be back.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Good to see you,
It's
too.
been a minute, hasn't it?
It really has. You guys don't know when we record this because that's the magic of the podcast.
Exactly.
But we've had a little break in between
it
recordings.
is. But
Yes.
it's so good to see you.
It's good to be seen, David.
All right, good. Fantastic. What are we talking about today, Orah? Please.
Yes, we are going to talk about encouragement today.
Ooh, I love that.
I love an encourager.
Okay.
I'll tell you why I thought about this. I was listening to a podcast, my favorite podcast, and I'm going to tell you guys it's a not safe for work podcast. Not everybody's going to like this podcast, but it's my favorite called Armchair Expert.
Okay, gotcha.
And they had somebody on years ago.
Okay.
I'm going back and listening. I'm catching up.
You're catching up. Got
and
it.
It was this guy named Ryan Hansen. He's an actor.
Okay.
And they were asking what he did as a job growing up.
Okay.
And he was, I'm going to read it, a professional party pumper.
A professional party pumper.
Look at the
hey, that's like an
alliteration on that.
alliteration for a preacher. A professional party pumper. Maybe that's what I'm going to start calling myself.
I'll refer to you as that as well.
Thank you. Yes, I'm the professional party pumper.
So they would hire him to go to bar mitzvahs or bat mitzvahs or weddings.
Okay.
And he was an outsider. He didn't know the couple or whoever. And he would come in and he would get people on the dance floor.
What?
He would do some backflips. He would like, let's go, you guys. It's a bar mitzvah.
What?
They're turning 13. Let's go. And I just thought, what?
So they pay this guy to bring the energy to the room.
Is that amazing?
Wow.
What a job.
I want to know how much he got paid.
I know. They didn't ask him. Can you
Why?
believe that?
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
He probably wouldn't remember if it's like his high school job.
Okay.
But I mean, would you have been good at that job in high school?
Wow. I think I could totally have done that.
You think you could?
I totally think I could have done that.
Could you do it now?
I think, the older you get, the less, hype you kind of feel. I still have that, sense of it, but it's not near of what it was.
Totally.
So, yeah. How about you? Do you think you could have done it?
In high school, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Now I'd be like, wait, what time is the wedding? Do I have to stay up late for the wedding?
Exactly. Really, I don't know if I even like these people.
I know.
Yes, right?
So it'd be a lot harder now. But back in the day, for sure, it'd be so fun.
Wow.
I can't do a backflip, though. To really get people going, that's not me. So
that's pretty crazy.
Isn't
I wonder
fun?
how long he did this.
I don't know, but I just thought, is it still around? Has anybody heard of somebody
so
doing this?
the question is for you, would you hire a professional party pumper for your kids' birthday?
I know.
No. I'm legitimately asking you the question.
No, I don't even throw my kids' birthday parties. So.
Sorry, kiddos. No birthday for you.
It's unnecessary. Let's have cake at home.
Okay,
Yay.
well, what if your daughter was getting married or something along those lines? No.
I would be the part. I'd be like, can we save the money and I'll just do it?
Okay.
But that would be embarrassing
What if
for
somebody
them, so.
offered it? What if I offered to do it for free, Orah?
Is a t-shirt cannon involved? I mean, I don't know.
Wow.
I still say no.
No, okay.
But I would respect the game if I saw it.
Okay,
you know what I mean?
got it.
Like, if I went somewhere, I'd be like, wow, that guy seems like a real treat. Like, I want to go dance now.
Okay.
And you do want people dancing at parties. It is always kind of lame when they're not.
If the dance floor is empty, we got a problem.
So in that sense, I'd be like, well, if we know we're inviting people who are real downers, maybe we should.
That is awesome.
Would
I love
you do it?
Would I do it? Man.
Graduation party for your twins?
I don't think it's necessary because I'm the professional party pumper myself. I mean, let's be clear.
Yeah, for sure.
No, let me answer the question. Yeah, so I have two very different sons.
Yeah.
One is very introverted and one is very extroverted. And if I brought a professional party pumper to my introverted son's party,
would be a nightmare.
He would be walking out. So that would not be good.
He would never forgive you. He'd be like, why would you do that?
And the other one would be like, Dad, it should be about me, not about the professional party pumper. So I'd lose on both counts, right? So that's how I would answer that question.
I could totally see that.
Yeah, right.
It's funny to think of knowing that you think your party's going to need it.
Yeah,
you would have the forethought to be like, we should definitely get the party pumper.
This is like for an introvert that knows they're an introvert but wants something a little bit more for that occasion.
Yes,
right?
they're like, it's my 16th birthday. I want it to be huge.
This has got to be big.
Go.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my goodness, what a fun job!
I know. So now let me ask you a question. So in your own personal life, how does that work?
Oh my goodness.
Because most of us don't throw lavish parties every week, right?
True,
so
we wish.
I kind of was thinking personally. Okay, now what does this look like? Do you have hype friends?
Well, that's the thing. That's what I want to talk about today because I think we could all be a better hype friend.
Okay.
I felt like I was like, that would be kind of cool to have in your life, to have people who are like.
You want somebody that follows you around all the time and like says, yes, you're awesome.
That would be
you're
a nightmare.
awesome. Let's do this.
That would be a nightmare. But also great. So yes, bring it on.
Great, yeah.
But how great is it when you're like having a conversation with a friend and they like give you a boost or encouragement?
Orah, you're awesome.
Right?
You are amazing.
Thank
Orah,
you,
thank you.
Thank you.
You just bring the glow and the joy.
Thank you.
You're so good.
I pay him for this. Okay, so recently I started a new to me thing I was really nervous about. I decided I was going to start writing a book.
What?
I've wanted to do it for
I
a long
think
time.
this is, hold it, folks.
Okay.
This is the international, like, start. No, it's not the start. What do you call it? It is the opening,
launch?
the launch. It's the launch. You've heard it here first, folks.
I'm writing a book, guys.
She's writing a book.
Isn't that exciting?
Wow.
So I wanted to do it for a long time.
Okay.
I remember in college thinking, like, I think I could write a book, but I had never tried before.
Right.
I plotted a few books before, but I'd never actually, like, sat down on a computer and was like, I'm going to write a book.
Okay.
So I was like kind of not sure if I could do it though, you know?
Like in what way? Like the discipline of writing the book?
Yes.
Because it's easy, right? I mean, from what I hear from authors is it's easy to have the ideas, but then the discipline of sitting down and chapter after chapter is really hard, right?
Yes. I think actually writing the book and then like once you write the book, all the steps that come after that seem pretty intimidating.
You gotta go on
just
book
the whole
tour
snowball of being like, could I sell the book? Would somebody want the book? Would I indie publish the book? The whole thing.
Well,
it was a lot.
Our listeners want to know.
I know. I don't know yet.
You don't even know yet.
The first step is to write the book.
Okay, now the question, I legitimately want to know this because it's the first time I'm hearing this too. Are you trying to make money with the book or are you just doing it because you want to write a book? Does that make sense?
Yes, I hear you. Okay. The goal would be to make money as an author. That's
Can I
the
tell
goal.
you that most first-time authors...
Don't discourage me.
I'm going to tell you right now. I'm being a hype friend. I'm going to be a hype friend right now. I think it's something like 95% of first-time publishers like lose money on their books.
Wait, the author does or the publisher
The author does.
Is that being a hype friend? Just to be clear.
I'm trying to be. What about being a real friend?
That's the opposite of what we're doing here, David.
This is why I'm saying I'm trying to hype you in the right direction.
Wait, that's discouraging.
No. Don't write the book to make money.
Okay.
Write the book because you have something in you.
Yes.
And you're like, yes, I want the world to see this.
Which is true. I do. I have an idea.
See?
I think it's a great
I'm hyping you. Come on, Orah. You got this.
This is mixed messages.
Don't worry about the money. I mean, if I came into pastoring because, man, I really want to make a lot of money.
Yeah, but nobody goes into pastoring for that,
Well, no, I know exactly. But you got to follow your passion. I'm trying to hype you in the right way. Because then you're doing it because of the love of the genre, the story, the whatever it is that you're trying to do.
But would you say that you would have, when you're going into pastoring, you're like, wouldn't it be great if like I ended up with a really big church someday?
What?
I mean, I'm just saying, it's the same thing.
Instead of it's just somebody saying, hey, most churches only, like, the average is 65 people.
Yeah, exactly.
So be okay with that.
But good luck.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah,
I'm telling you to do?
Yes, exactly.
Well, yeah, okay.
Touche, right?
All right. Or you're going to make a lot of money.
Thank you, David.
I'm going to be asking for your autograph.
I'm going to be like, let's get,
this is what
who
I'm
are those
doing.
preachers with the money? Like Creflo Dollar?
You knew Orah win. That's what I'm going to say.
Well.
Wow. Hype friends. I love this.
You.
Okay. Yeah.
I told a few friends, just a few, that I was like, I'm thinking about writing a book.
Oh. Okay.
And
I'm not the first one.
You're
I
not,
mean, I am your pastor. I'd expect you to get some spiritual counsel first. I'm really disappointed. How can I be a hype pastor if you can't even tell me?
This is actually an intervention for you to become a better hype pastor.
It's so true. Okay. All right. So sorry, I derailed that.
Okay.
So you told a few friends.
I told a few friends.
How long ago was this? Let's get the timing.
I don't know.
Here.
I mean,
like
a couple
months ago or years
6
ago?
months.
Oh, okay.
The last, somewhere in there.
Okay.
I was like, I think I'm gonna do it. I'm like, I was even nervous to say it out loud.
Were you trying to get permission from them for like people to say, "Oh yes, you can do this," or would you, if they had said, you would have been like, "Well, maybe I shouldn't write a book"?
No, I feel like I was like maybe even talking about like New Year's resolutions, or like I was saying like I think like this year I'm gonna try it. I'm just gonna try to write a book, like. You know, that kind of thing, kind of divulging just to some friends.
So you're going to release this book by the end of 2024?
No, I'm just going to try to write the book.
Start the writing process.
Yes,
Got it. Okay,
correct.
got it. Okay.
It's really on my timeline here.
People want to know when this book is coming out. I mean,
no release date.
Pre-orders are on sale right now. Put a link in the description. Okay.
Well, anyways, I had a few friends.
Yeah, what'd they say?
Who were so encouraging.
Really?
They said things like, hey, we've all read books from authors who were awful. Like, you're going to be way better than some of the stuff that's out there. You've got to be better than that. And you read so much. Why couldn't you write a book? Just practical things that were like maybe hidden in me that I was like, yeah, I can do that.
Totally.
I was even nervous to like say to people like, hey, I think I'm going to write a book. And my husband, Phil, was like, you need to stop saying like, hey, I think I'm going to write a book. Like, you are writing a book.
Hey, good job, Phil. Come on. Hey, that's a real, mean, your best friend, right? Your husband gives you the best advice.
The best advice.
Come on,
like,
I love that.
No, you're writing it. You're writing a book right now. And I'm halfway through.
Are you what?
A book currently.
Are you serious?
Seriously.
Wow.
I have like 33,000 words.
33,000
And I am
words.
writing a book.
Are you going to let me like get a preview of this book?
You
You see how she treats me here?
She has to pre-order it like everybody else. I want the money.
Just like everybody. Exactly. She's going to make me pay double for this book.
Yeah, really.
Exactly. No, wow, that's really like legit. I am impressed.
Isn't it exciting?
That is so good.
I really think that if I didn't have the few friends who were like, go write the book.
Yeah.
Go on a writer's retreat. Go do the thing.
Yeah.
I think if I didn't have the few friends that did that I still would be like, I don't know. Like, can I write a book? Like, is that too crazy? Is that reaching too far? Is that too out of my lane?
Crazy.
The power of an encourager.
I just wanted to say, that's awesome.
Thank you.
It's really amazing. Like, you've got this. 33,000 words.
I'm doing
How many
it.
chapters in are you?
I don't know. I didn't do like chapters.
Okay,
There's
currently
like
you're just doing the story.
Yes,
and
but I'm about a little over halfway.
Wow, that's
through,
amazing.
Yeah.
Do they say how many words you have to have in a book?
Well,
just as an aside, I don't know.
I'll probably be between like 50,000 and 70,000 is my goal.
I have no idea what that means. Is that like,
It's like 250 to 300 pages.
Oh, yeah, that's a decent sized book.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
good job.
I'm doing it.
Orah, wow.
I am doing it.
You got this, Orah.
Thank you.
You got this. I believe in you.
Thank you.
You got it.
So I was just thinking like, man, we all could use more of that in our life of having the vulnerability to say like what you want, to state a dream out loud, and to have some friends be like, that's not a crazy dream. You can do that dream. Why can't you do that?
Well, okay. So as I was kind of doing some research for the podcast,
which we do, hard to believe,
which
but
we do, we really do. I was reminded of a study that I had read years ago, put out by Harvard.
Classic school.
And a classic school. And they had done this, what they call a longitudinal study.
Okay.
That started in the 1920s. You've probably heard this.
I don't think so.
Okay. So they took sophomores from Harvard School, university, and they decided that they wanted to track them for the rest of their lives.
Oh, interesting.
So they had to agree to it. So the initial class, so to speak, of this longitudinal study was included people such as John F. Kennedy.
Oh, wow.
All these things. And they wanted to plot through like all kinds of research about how long they would live, health, eating, all of these things, and they would interview them along the way. And they put out a paper, I can't remember exactly when, but within the last 20 years or so. And this is one of the main things that they've discovered from this long-term study of studying people over the course of 60, 70, 80 years, is that loneliness is more powerful than alcohol or I can't remember some of the other stuff, but there was lots of things in there, and they were just trying to say that the idea that friendships determine your future.
I like that.
Okay, and what they said in the study was that the kind of friends that you have at 50 determine how long you live.
Whoa, pressure's on, guys.
It's on, right? They said that having friends, you're calling them hype friends, encouraging friends, people that will speak into your life, is a better indicator than what you eat, your cholesterol levels, even some of the genetics that you have in your body.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's really, really
Having
interesting.
people that come around you that you're able to be vulnerable with and to encourage and to receive encouragement is so powerful. It's a predictor of how long you're going to live.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's cool.
So I was just thinking about this like for you as hype friends, like these friends that you have, hopefully you'll continue them for a long time,
Yeah, it really
right?
makes you want to like really breathe life into those friends. You're like, hey guys, you're gonna help me live a long time. Let's get these friendships going.
Exactly, right? Right? Like, so friendships matter, I guess, is what I was trying to say. So then that kind of makes me think about, like, what are the kinds of friends that we have?
Yeah, if you took stock of your friendships, me and my husband do this sometimes when we're on a walk.
Okay.
We'll talk about friends who we feel like maybe when we hang out with them, we're the givers.
Yes,
And,
totally, right?
you know,
Yep.
and then the ones that we feel like are life-giving.
100%.
And what's your like kind of percentage?
Exactly.
And it's kind of wild what your percentage is. For most of us, I think a lot of us are the givers.
Okay.
And we don't realize that we need to like seek out friendships where we're also like getting fed in the friendship. You know what I mean?
100%.
Because I think naturally we want to help people, all of us.
Totally.
So we'll be like, oh, that's fine. I feel exhausted after I hang out with them. You know, they need a lot, but it's fine.
It's okay.
You know, it's good.
It's part of
fine.
friendship,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
But then when you hang out with somebody who's like a life-giving friend, you're like, wow.
Like, okay,
what
so
a
let me ask you a
changer.
question. So in regards to all of the friendships that you and Phil personally have,
Yeah.
what percentage would you say are like life-giving, and the others that are not necessarily like sucking the life out of you, but
Right,
you know,
totally.
you feel like you give a lot more than what you would
Yes.
receive?
I would
What would
say
you think?
maybe 2 out of 10 life-giving.
Wow, really?
I know that's wild.
Wow.
But in that, then doesn't it make you think it's even more important to talk about being an encourager? That you can become a life-giving friend yourself
Yes.
by.
So are you trying to say that most people don't know how to be life-giving friends? Is that what I'm
so.
hearing you say?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think?
I'm just wondering if this is what she chooses a lot of the episodes of what we do here. I'm wondering if that is the reason why you were thinking about this podcast.
I was really thinking like how much it can really change the trajectory of your life, of your goals, of your dreams when you have somebody encouraging you.
Yeah.
And just how rare that seems to be now.
Yeah. I think that's really true. I think it's hard to maintain friendships with people that consistently like wear you out.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, totally.
Even if you love them and you have lots of in common or whatever,
Totally.
like over the long term, it's going to be harder to maintain those relationships.
Yes.
But I'm going to go back to that study. The problem, though, is that I think the older we get, the more isolated and lonely we get.
Yeah.
So loneliness is a greater predictor of your longevity, right?
Yes.
Than all the other stuff that all that science and research and all those kind of things say, right?
Totally.
Like what you eat and your health and your
Yes.
cholesterol. I mean, this is all in that study, and we want to put a link to that study because it's a fascinating read.
Yes.
But the idea that we get the older we get, the lonelier we get.
And what do you
we
think?
see.
Are you in your 50s?
I'm in my 50s
what
now.
if I said that and that was wrong? Would that have been awful?
Well, I'm just glad that you were like even thinking, is he in his 50s?
When I said it, I thought, oh,
hopefully
boy.
you weren't thinking older, like he's in his 60s.
I thought, well, if you're even 49, you're not going to be happy if I say you're in your 50s.
No, that's true. No, I am classically in my mid-50s now. I have almost reached that threshold.
So
I was going to say this. So what happens, see, I am a generation ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
And what has tended to happen for Heather and I is that the kid years like sucked all of the energy out of you. And you're going through this right now.
Totally.
You have 3 kids and you know how that works. It's like your world kind of revolves around them, and rightfully so. You're pouring into them. They're the most important things in your lives, you know, all of those kind of things. But what happens is that, you know, it comes at the detriment of friendships in your life because you're doing what your kids want to do. The soccer games and the band and the football and all the different things that you're going to for your kids. And what happens is that you don't have the time for friendships.
Yes.
So you come out on the other side after 18 years of raising your kids, which is where Heather and I are, and you look around and you kind of go, okay, now they're starting to have their own friendships and their own things, and you're looking around going, well, oh my gosh, like where are the friends that I had?
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's a legitimate, and I think that's why the research tends to say if you can't like readjust and find those friendships, then you're going to tend towards loneliness, and that's going to kill you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I would say Heather and I are probably in a season where we're readjusting and trying to say, okay, friendships are important. Let's look into that.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
And which is an interesting thing to be in because you can take stock of people. you can go after people you want.
100%.
You're not stuck in like old relationships where you're like
Correct.
trying to transform those into life-giving friendships.
That's right. But now we do have some friendships that have been around since, high school or whatever. And those are great friends. But it does give you the opportunity to kind of start over.
Kind of exciting.
But I will say this, there's something about long-term friends that are really like classic, that are important because you've been through the thick and the thin.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so you can tend to be a little bit more vulnerable with those friends than you can with maybe newer friends that you're still not quite sure like how the confidentiality is going to work and what they're going to say or not say.
Totally.
Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure. I think of like some of your friends that you can be the most vulnerable with. You know that they've been with you for so long that you can be petty or you can be whatever, and they'll forgive you for that, and they'll walk you through that.
That's right.
You can be your true self.
That's right.
And then be like, okay, I'm calm now.
That's right.
And they won't be like, gosh, she needs some prayer.
She's got
you know?
Like they walk away after you, a night out with you guys, and we're like, wow, okay.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Exactly. Just the longevity of that kind of,
Yeah.
it helps you have like a solid foundation for sure.
So where are you in Phil right now when it comes to relationships? Because we're trying to reach a broader audience where I'm in my mid-50s, and so we're reassessing our friendships. What about you guys when it comes to friends? And like, do you have a solid group of friends that you're pretty consistent in connecting with?
Yeah, I have, couples friends, not as much.
Okay.
But individual friends, me more than him.
Okay.
I definitely put more effort in, and he would say that too. I'm not like outing him or anything like that. I like have sought out some specific friendships, and I like, am in a book club. I like try to like get time with people.
Yeah.
And that's been a priority for me.
So good.
But I'm sure you've seen with these studies, many times it's men who have kind of crappy friendships, and it's one of the reasons they're dying sooner.
Well, I was just going to say that. Like, legitimately, I was going to say that. And I think that's true in my life, too. Like, here I am, a pastor of a pretty good-sized church, right? And, like, I can probably have as many friends as I want to have.
Yeah.
But I feel like Heather does a much better job of being super intentional with a smaller number of people and has deeper relationships. And I have broader relationships with a lot more people. And who's probably more successful? I bet if I was going to look at it, I'd say she's way more successful.
Yeah.
She's more intentional about that than I am. Yeah. And going back to your point, like, that's why women live longer.
Yeah.
They're willing to be vulnerable and be intentional. I think that's really important.
I'm sure there's a lot to do with even how we like raise men and women, with maybe women being potentially more in touch with their feelings and more willing to be vulnerable than a man.
That's good.
So we're able to probably have deeper relationships faster, I would imagine.
I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna push back on
I don't
that.
know if that's like still true for the younger generations.
Yeah.
I'm not old, but
Wow.
I am a millennial.
All you kids out there, bring your comments and let us know.
It could have changed now, but I do think that that's a big difference. Even like if you think like, okay, well, how vulnerable are you being when you get coffee with a guy?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the Chiefs mostly, or are you talking about like your inner demons?
Yeah.
I don't know, Maybe it's a mix. I don't know.
Are they even going out to coffee with friends?
Wow, that's true.
I mean, let's be real.
I know.
Yeah, come on.
It's true.
Right? I
it's
know.
true.
Yeah.
So do you have some stories or something specifically that sticks out to you of somebody who's like been a real encourager and it's made a difference for you?
Yeah. Okay. So Orah asked me to think about this.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I gave him a heads up.
You did, which I so
Behind the
appreciate.
scenes.
I so appreciate this. Okay. So I was thinking about a season in my life where I was interviewing to be the pastor of this church. Not just an associate pastor, but the lead pastor. And it was a year and a half process that was really, it was draining and it was difficult and there was just a lot of chaos. And Heather wasn't sure if this is really something that we should continue to pursue because we kept getting mixed signals. And then the leadership was saying, well, we're not real sure. Let's do this and that. And it was just a big cloud of like the unknown. And was it something that we really wanted to do? And I'm kind of like skipping out a lot of the like personal, like intense feelings that we were going through in the midst of it. But we were like uber discouraged. Like really felt like God had called us here. Felt like the leadership was dragging their feet. It was a really lonely place to be.
Yeah.
And we went down to Texas We live in Kansas City. Drove down to Texas, and there were some really good friends of ours that were missionaries, Greg and Eva Dennington. And we went and we spent a weekend with them. And we told them when we came, we said, we're exhausted and we're not sure what next steps God has for us. Can we just come down and hang out with you guys? And they said, come on down. So we went down, and for the first day, they just listened to us. And we just poured out our hearts. We were mad and angry and upset. And, I think that's something that hype friends aren't just those friends that are like, woo, 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 hyping you up and telling you to go. No, what I mean by a hype friend is someone that will actively listen to what you have to say. They're not always talking, they're listening. And they were intently listening at what we were saying. Like they were stepping into the story of what we were walking through. And we poured out our hearts and we cried. I'm not a big crier. My wife is more than I am. But we cried and we were saying, man, we just don't know. And we don't hear God. And what do we do? And how do we make the next steps? And they just listened to us like for a full day, like legitimately. It was probably 6 or 7 hours. We just vented.
It's amazing.
Everybody needs somebody they can vent to.
So true.
That can keep it confidential because we all need to vent, right? We don't vent to the world, but we vent to those people that can keep it confidential, which is great. And I encourage everybody to have that kind of person, right? And then the next day they sat down with us and they just said, here's what we hear. And then they just began to encourage us and tell us that God had a purpose and a plan for our lives. And they weren't sure whether or not we were going to be the pastors, but they were saying, but God has a call on your life, and we see that. And they just poured into us. And Heather and I came away from that weekend so recharged and so fresh and so exhilarated. As I look back on it, that is what a hype friend does.
Yeah.
We came back ready to step back into the process. And I don't know that I would be the lead pastor of this church without that weekend.
Wow.
Legit. That it changed their trajectory. And then I was thinking of a couple of other friends that we had in the same season, because you think back about hype friends when you're going through kind of the lowest of the low. We had some hype friends of ours, John and Jody Harkness, while we were going through infertility. And, just the emotion of that. And I've shared my story about that so many times. But those guys walked through with us because they themselves were going through infertility as well. And just being able to walk through the process of a friend that would step in when you don't have the strength yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? And what I mean by that is I remember when I got a call, the boys were born 3 months premature. I get a call to go to the hospital. John and Jody Harkness, they meet us at the hospital. I go in. I say hi to them real quick. I go in. They pulled the boys out of Heather. They did a quick C-section. The doctor comes to me and says, I don't think they're going to make it. And I go outside and I tell my friends this, and I crumple on the floor, and I wanted to be by myself. And I heard across the hall my friends praying out loud on their knees, asking God to spare their lives.
Wow.
That's what a hype friend does. I'll never forget that moment. And those guys, they've been friends of ours for years and years and years. And that was a moment that changed the trajectory of our lives as well. Yeah. So those are two moments.
Stories.
That they're hype friends when they step in at the lowest point of your life.
Totally.
And they're willing to say, it's kind of like Aaron and Hur, right? Lifting up the staff that Moses is trying to hold, right? You need those friends that are going to hold you up.
Yes, I love that.
Okay, I went off on, two main stories.
Those were two good stories.
But what about you?
Yeah, I think that in general, I agree with you. I think the impact of a hype friend when you are in your lowest, it becomes part of your testimony almost.
Yeah, it's your story, right? And you'll never forget those.
Yes. And the impact is so huge.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a thought to me of being what can I do more for my friends?
Ooh.
How can I be a better hype friend to them?
Yeah.
Or, because I want to be that for people for sure.
Right.
And you're like, man, if they've made that big of an impact, I want to have that big of an impact on people.
It's a great question. So then I'd ask you the question, how well do you think you are at being a hype friend?
Yeah, good question. I guess we should have my friends answer that question.
I'm gonna do a vulnerable moment because I've told the church we need to be more vulnerable. I don't know how good of a hype friend I am.
Yeah.
I don't know that I excel at that.
Yeah.
I think I need to get better at that.
Yeah.
Orah, You did it again. You're making me really think. I hope you're thinking out there because I'm really thinking going, man, I think I can do a lot better.
I often think because I wonder how much I talk about myself versus vice versa.
Yeah.
And I think I could work on that a lot.
Yeah.
And I think I would need to talk about my drama or whatever less.
Okay.
And
yeah.
like
this
be
is
a
good.
better listener to be a better hype friend.
Yeah.
You know, really asking the
and
questions.
is it more than listening is important? Like that's a classic skill that we all need to have, not talking about ourselves. But I'm thinking about those moments where you actually stand in the gap for somebody. That's different, right? I'm
Totally.
I'm talking about another level. I remember like during 2020, I was depressed about the church. We couldn't meet. And I had a small group come over to our house. There was like 10 of them. And they stood outside our driveway. And they brought flowers for Heather and balloons. And they said, "You're an awesome pastor." And I'm thinking like, those are the kind of moments that I wish I need to do stuff like that.
Yes, do a gesture.
Right?
Totally.
I don't think I do enough gestures, Orah.
We could all do with being a little bit more upping our gesture game,
Man,
you know?
Yeah.
I think so.
It's challenging.
I know. It's funny because we have thoughts. Like we might be like, I should write them a letter. I should do whatever.
Right.
And then we don't do it.
All the time.
Right?
All the time.
And I feel like that's like maybe something that we should like act immediately.
Come on.
Keep the thank you note or the empty note cards in your car and write them in pickup line. You know, like whatever. Just be like, give yourself the ability to do it immediately.
It's not that hard.
Yeah. Yeah, I was looking up.
Yeah.
I was looking up something. Have you heard of the negativity bias? Have you heard that term?
Somewhere in the back of I could not tell you anything about it, but I've like heard that term. But go ahead, tell me. Yeah.
It's the tendency to remember negative stimuli more readily and to also dwell more on negative feedback.
Yeah.
And negatives cause a stronger brain response in the cerebral cortex than a positive or a neutral.
Okay.
So this is just the reality of our brains.
Yep, that's right.
We do focus more on negatives. So then to be an encourager or to have an encourager is such a good tool, totally
good.
Because it's really helping you rewire your brain.
Come on.
It's helping you really like be like, I'm changing my perspective. I'm not focused as much on that one mean comment or
that's right.
You know, that underhanded thing so and so said at school, whatever. You know, you're being like, okay, yes, I'm focused on the positive. I am gonna lean into that, you know.
Yeah.
I can be a lead pastor. God did call me to that. I am going to remember that. Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah.
You know?
So I guess I'm processing like if our brains tend towards negativity.
Yeah.
Okay. And we tend to remember the negative things. How can we outweigh that? Was that any part of the research at all? Or
so basically it's the idea of just having more encouragement in that's the power of encouragement is to have somebody be specific is what the science says.
Okay.
Like, hold on, let me find it.
Yeah,
exactly
we're gonna
what
let her
it is.
Find that.
Offering specific praise versus like, hey, good job.
Yeah.
Being specific about something, it helps your brain to like grab that.
Ooh, that's
you know what I mean?
100%.
Okay.
I get lots of people that like try to be encouraging that I kind of like, yeah. Like I don't say that. I mean, internally I'm going, yeah. Because they're not super specific.
Yes.
And I'm just like, yeah, it's kind of almost like flattery. I like intentional.
Yes.
Like you did this or you said that.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's really good.
So it's like after service being like, hey, good sermon.
Fantastic.
It's
nice,
great.
It's nice.
But your brain's not going to latch onto it.
100% no.
But if you're like, hey, when you said that specific story.
Correct.
Goosebumps.
Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly.
That might be like, ooh, cool.
100%,
I'm glad I did that. I wasn't
because I'll remember
that.
the negative thing when somebody says, well, you said this and I disagree or that really hurt me or whatever. They're being specific, right?
Totally.
Yeah, that's actually very, it's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're trying to encourage ourselves to be very specific in the encouragement that we give.
Yes.
Let's don't be general and broad.
Yes.
Okay.
And in general, I think all of us could be more, we could be more free with our praise.
Yes. It's free.
Yes.
It doesn't cost anything.
Totally.
Right?
We need to just be more vocal and saying like, hey, I loved that you did that.
Yeah, it's intentional.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
Or I love that you created this specific topic for this podcast. This is very helpful for me.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I heard a few quotes online that I really liked about encouragement.
Okay, let's hear it. Okay.
Encouragement fosters a sense of belonging and connection. It reminds us that we're not alone in our struggles.
Yeah.
encouragement is like fuel for the soul. It provides motivation to keep going.
Ooh, I like that one.
I like
It's
that one a
fuel
lot.
for the soul.
Yes.
Yes, encouragement to keep going. Yeah,
Yes.
motivation to keep going. I really like that a lot.
And then, okay, encouragement can spark self-motivation. We can receive positive reinforcement, and we're more likely to believe in ourselves and push ourselves towards our goals.
Yeah.
I thought that was good, even in like the Christian sense of being like, sometimes we're not great Christians because we're just like living our day-to-day lives.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you have an encourager who's like, hey, you know, it mattered when you invited me to church. It mattered when you told me your testimony.
That's
it
right.
mattered. It'll help you be a better Christian. It'll help you on your path to be like, okay, that I need to do that more. You know what I mean?
100%. I was also thinking while you were saying all this, like, if we want to receive, it's kind of like if we want to receive encouragement, we've got to be able to give encouragement, right? If you want a friend, you need to be a friend.
Yeah.
Right? It's the intentionality of it that's so important.
Yes.
And we got to start.
Yes, totally.
Right? And then that goes back to, it's easy to think broad base, but like, how can we be intentional with those few friends?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because the few friends those are the ones that you can give really intentional encouragement to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Do you have a way that you think you thrive as an encourager? Like you're like, that is my best technique.
Yeah, I would say that, again, I'll be vulnerable. I think I do general encouragement pretty well, but I need to work at being intentionally encouraging with specificity.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Like, I think I can talk to people and say, oh, you did a great job, and oh, thank you for doing this, and thank you for volunteering, and man, we sure appreciate you.
Yeah.
But that's not being very specific.
Yeah, totally.
Right? Because those are easy platitudes. And instead of being intentionally thinking about, I appreciate this about you. And you almost have to kind of like stop and take time to do that. Or I can walk into a room and go, hey, thank you so much for serving, and then walk off and go, oh, hey, thank you so much for being in the coffee shop or whatever. But that's not, I mean, that's good, but it's not the deeper level of the hype friend that we're talking about, right?
And I think when we're being more specific, we ourselves are being vulnerable, so it's awkward. Like you're like, I'm now like maybe making this more serious than you intended it to be, or you're making yourself the vulnerable one, which is hard.
Yeah, that's
right.
And
I think that's part of the holdup of actually like going there.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
But it's one of the reasons it's worth it.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it.
Yeah.
So good.
I have a list of ways to be an encourager that I thought of.
Okay, this is good.
I mean, some of them are online, but they're just ones that I compiled that I thought would be good.
Okay.
Immediate call out of thanks when you see something.
Yes.
I think is good.
Okay. Yep. So let's just break it down just for a second. So we're talking about when you see something, say something.
Yes.
In the positive sense,
I like
right?
it. I like
you like
it.
that?
Yes.
Okay.
And I like the idea of celebrating small wins for a friend.
Yep.
I was thinking about for my kids, if they are just they have a spelling test every Friday. It's nothing exciting.
Yeah.
But when they do their spelling test and they don't miss any words, they're really proud of themselves.
Right,
So it
and
goes on the
rightfully
fridge.
so. Come on.
Yeah.
You
so
put it on the fridge.
We put it on the fridge.
Yep.
And next week we'll put another one on the fridge. Next one. But it's celebrating a small win. It's being like, hey, I recognize that. You did it. Great job.
Yeah.
And we need more fridge moments for our friendships.
Ooh.
You know?
What does a fridge moment look like for a friend?
Oh, what do you
I want to
think?
think about that for a second. How does that? It's almost like, how can you publicly encourage a friend? There's something about public praise, right? It's like encouraging that person in front of other people. It's like this old adage that I've said before in our leadership teams multiple times, and that is, we don't want to gossip behind people's back, but we want to publicly praise people behind their back.
Yeah, I like that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So that they find out, oh my gosh, they're talking good about me, and I had
Yes.
no idea.
I like that.
Right?
I feel like in the modern age, it's like to share something on Instagram and to be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And like tagging them on Instagram is the modern fridge moment, kind of.
Ooh, I like that. I'm not an Instagram guy at all, but there's a lot of people that are. I think that's great.
It's a way.
I think if you're listening to this podcast, you've made it this far. That's my challenge for you. And you're on Instagram. I want you to take one friend and what would you call it? Have a fridge moment.
Have a fridge moment.
A fridge moment. Hashtag fridge moment. Come on.
I like it.
Okay, good, right?
Totally.
I think that's good. In other words, you're going to encourage them, publicly praise them for something that they've done.
Yes, exactly.
Love that.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think sometimes this is not always encouraging. So I want people to to do this sparingly.
Okay.
Sometimes, I would say sometimes, a friend will send you a verse in the Bible.
Yes.
And it can be very encouraging.
100%.
They may be praying for you or thinking of you or knowing what you're going through, and they can send you a verse, and that can be really encouraging.
Right. Okay.
Sometimes
the flip side,
it can be detrimental.
You mean if you're getting a verse of the day?
Yes, I don't know.
Or even a verse of the week. I mean, it loses. It's kind of like, sorry, I got to digress. It just hit my head. So there's this guy that I know who, when he was dating his wife, not dating his wife, but she was his girlfriend. She was dating him. And the very first date that he had, he brought her a red rose. And she was like, oh, my gosh, thank you for bringing this red rose. So every single date, he brought her a red rose.
Wow.
And then after about 6 months of dates with this girl, she took him aside and she said, listen, I love the red rose, but it doesn't mean anything anymore. And he was like kind of clueless and was like, oh, okay.
Oh my God.
But I'm just like, it's the red rose of the verses, right? It just loses its meaning at that point, right?
It does.
Is this what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, and I love that. You're also like, can you save your money? Like, buy me a coffee. What do you think?
But he thought it was awesome every time, right? And he was wanting that same response from her, like, oh, thank you so much.
She's like, literally, how many roses?
I mean, lots and lots and lots of, and it was always one single red rose.
The florist was so disappointed after that. They're like, what happened to my rose guy?
He told me that story. I was laughing so hard, you know. These are some of my awkward friends, just so you know.
I love it. I love it.
Oh.
Overall, I think.
Sorry, I don't even know what we were talking about. But
more specific things. I think you could do a care package. This is something you should do occasionally, not always.
Okay.
But have you ever gotten a care package before?
Well, I mean, the 2020, they brought some flowers and some balloons and that kind of. I don't know that I've ever received a care package.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think we just had
You mean like out of the blue, here's like not your birthday, not a special celebration, just because.
Yes. Or celebrating a small win. Our next door neighbor, he just got a new job last week.
Okay.
News to me, I didn't know that. I ran into his wife and I was like, wow, he started a new job? How exciting. We decided to make him cookies on Friday to say, hey, first week on your new job. Congratulations.
That's not really a care package.
Well, don't call me out, David, for that.
I'm thinking literally. I'm like, I've never received like a care. How many people have received? This is what's going through my head. I wonder how many people have received a full care package. Now, listen, if it's just a cookie or a mug or a thing, I've gotten that lots of times. I'm thinking a care package.
Okay, I've also done care packages.
Have you really?
They're more involved, yes, but it's usually like, hey, somebody's going through something big. I might be like, here's, a nail polish and a mug and a tea and like a face mask.
You are a great friend.
Thank you.
No, I'm legitimately saying that.
Oh, okay.
I have never done that in my life.
Yeah, I love getting a care package. I love giving a care package. I'm a gift giver. It's one of my
See, this is her love language. I was wondering if that's the case. Honestly. Okay, yeah, okay. Now I know.
But I do love doing that, and I do think sometimes that's like a really good surprise option for somebody.
Okay,
to show them you care.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
okay.
So I'm like, hey, I'm in your corner. I'm praying for you.
Yeah.
Okay. The whole situation.
I like that.
So overall, we haven't really talked Bible. I had a ton of Bible verses, but I just don't need to go through them. Read your Bible. But there's a lot of encouragement in the Bible. Jesus is into encouragement. We like encouraging people.
Yes.
Can
I just, we have to go through this.
Oh, okay.
Because I was thinking about this as well, and I'm reminded about this about Jesus, like every time. It just fascinates me. So I'm preaching a series about Peter, and I'm thinking about the disciples and all the thing, and I went through like all of the disciples, and did you know Jesus had a nickname for over half of the disciples?
I love this.
Right? Don't you love that? I mean, we know this, but it never ceases to surprise me that he had nicknames for all of these guys.
I love it.
I just think like when you have nicknames for somebody, you know that you're having a deep level, encouraging,
high familiarity,
right?
Totally.
Like, and don't you think that every time that they heard that, like Jesus, like not just tell them their name, but their nickname.
Yes.
Like, come on. That did something in them.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought, how cool is that?
Are you a nickname guy? Do you give out nicknames?
I don't, but I should.
Well,
I think
do you call your kids the same name every time you say your kids?
You know what? So my kids are going to hate this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyways because
Okay.
I don't even know if they're listening. So then this will teach them to listen to podcast. No, like, so growing up, we had lots of nicknames for our kids.
Yeah.
So like Rooster was one because when one of our kids was really young, we went to Hawaii and there was these roosters that would run around and it was Jack and he would just run around with the roosters and play with them and try to catch them. And so forever he was known as Rooster.
That's cute.
And then we had Red because we have red hair and we have Bear because I don't know why it's Bear, but we called him Bear. It's just what we call.
Yeah.
You know, so we have all these little love names that we have, right? That's so fun.
I
love it right now. As they've gotten older, it's like less and less, but maybe I need to like lean into that a little bit more.
Do some more nicknames.
I call them Buddy, and they hate that.
Oh, do they?
I've just learned this a couple of days ago.
Oh, really?
They're
Breaking
just like
news.
when you say Buddy, it's like kind of condescending. We really don't like that, and I'm
All
like,
right,
oh,
buddy.
Okay, I'm not going to be doing that anymore. And now I'm catching myself because I call them Buddy all the time. I'm like, oh, I got to stop that.
Oh,
so
that's great. I'm gonna call you Buddy now.
Some nicknames that don't work, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, what about you guys?
I'm a huge nickname person.
Okay.
I love a nickname.
Okay.
All the time.
Okay.
Even in my head, I might call somebody not to their face, but in my head, they're a nickname.
Interesting.
A lot of times I'll add just money to the end, like D Money, you know. Like I just add money to the end of somebody's name.
Okay, all right.
How's it going, D Money? You know.
Is there a reason why you got
No,
money on the?
you know, I'm just
something
secretly
stupid
a
that you
rapper.
do.
I
Oh,
don't
that
know.
you're a
No,
rapper.
I don't
Okay,
know.
I got it.
I have
Okay,
no idea.
I had no idea.
Yeah, and I went to Thailand after like for something in college, and they would as a term of like respect, they would put P before people's names. Have you heard that before?
Oh, I don't know that I've heard that.
So it would be like P. David.
Ah, okay.
And then that was
I always
like
thought it was
years
for
ago.
Pastor David. I had no idea. I'm just kidding. Okay.
But sometimes I do that.
Okay.
All right, P. Phil.
Had no idea.
Yeah.
P. Phil, you're awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love a good nickname.
I like that. Yeah. Anyway, back to scripture. We were talking about, sorry, we went off on that, but I was thinking about disciples, and then I was thinking about like really shallow friends, right? Like I know we're talking, it's all about hype friends, but then I was trying to go like, you know, you were talking about like the negative influence of friends that are not life-giving.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, because I just reread the narrative of Judas coming up to Jesus and he kisses him on the cheek.
Man.
I mean, like,
so brutal.
right? It's the act of deep friendship, but it's I'm just like, man, this story, this narrative, it's not just a story, it's real, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, that's like the most like backstabbing kind of like, I mean, it's the worst thing.
Obviously, this would not work for the narrative of Jesus, but if Jesus slapped him in the face right then, like, would you have so much joy in that moment?
Right?
Just to be like, you know, he knows what you're doing. We know what
He
you're doing.
already knew it. He already knew
Kiss
it.
me on the cheek. I know who you are. Oh, man.
So I was going to go negative in the podcast here.
Oh,
you weren't expecting this, but I was
wasn't.
just going to ask you, have you had some negative friends? And then how do you deal with negative friends?
Oh, boy.
Sorry, but I think
What a
it's like
downer.
legitimate to what we're talking about because you're going to have those friends that like kind of turn on you.
I know. I've had some bad ones.
It's kind of inevitable.
Yes.
If it happens with Jesus, the Son of God, the one who's always life-giving,
Yes.
right? And he gets that negative knife in the back kind of thing.
Yes.
And then and Jesus responds by still loving this guy, right?
What an example.
Jesus, you're doing so amazing. How can you do that?
It's so hard to hit that example.
Right? Wow.
I have had some bad ones, some bad friends, as we all do. Definitely, I would say that my college group of friends was my worst percentage of
like
friends.
You felt like they were real friends?
Yes, but then they weren't. And we had so much drama. Oh, my Lanta, so much drama.
How do you deal with drama? Like, what is your initial response to drama?
Oh, my goodness. I'm really confrontational.
So you step into it right in the middle of it?
I don't like prolonged drama. I would like to just be like, what's the drama? Like, why are you talking about that? Why are you talking about them behind their back? Just stop. Like, what's going on?
So you'll call them out.
I like to just get it done. Like, let's just nip this in the bud.
Okay.
A lot of people don't appreciate that about me.
Well, no, they don't, right? Why? Because they get like nervous? What do you think?
So it can be abrasive. I think that's totally true. I can be very blunt.
Right.
I don't like the tension of simmering drama. I would rather just be done with it. You know what I mean?
Let's pull this out in the open and let's deal with it.
Yes. And usually it can be resolved.
Right. Okay.
Not in college, though. There's a lot of drama.
I understand that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
but my preference would be to let's just call it out and be done.
Yeah.
But if you can't have people tell the truth, then I really struggle.
Yeah, I think that's really true.
Like you're like, well, but then you're lying. Just say the truth. Just
tell
what's
us
the issue?
What it is.
Yes.
Yeah. I have found that's been the most response that I've had with friends or people in the church is that they don't want to be honest about their own feelings.
Yeah.
And they don't want to come out and say what they really mean or what they're really thinking. And so they let that simmer for a really long time and it ruins the relationship.
Yeah.
Because in their head, it's happened for 6 months or a year and you have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
And then you begin to sit down and try to walk through it. And then by that time, they've already made up their mind.
Totally. They're done.
They are way past it.
Totally.
And you're trying to play catch up.
You're like, I didn't even know there was an issue till 5 minutes ago.
Totally.
Like, what? Wait a second.
100%.
You're
That's
leaving?
probably one of my biggest pet peeves.
Yeah.
Is like, you either have to come to a place where you get over it yourself and you're like, I'm going to be okay with this, or let's talk it out and have a real conversation instead of already prejudged whatever the issue is.
Yes. Totally.
Sorry, I wanted to go down this direction, but I think it's just as important. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if you're going to be a hype friend, you're going to have somebody that you're going to disagree with. You're not always going to encounter bliss and rainbows and flowers every single week, right?
Yeah, totally.
You're going to have a moment where it's really challenging and difficult. And so being able to either get over it in your own head or having a real conversation.
Yeah. And I do also think that as I've grown, I've realized that I don't need to put in a ton of effort into friendships that I don't see being life-giving and flourishing.
1,000%.
Because I just don't have as much time as I used to.
That's
you're
right.
like, well, I only have 1 hour a week or
That's
whatever.
right.
It's 1 hour a day, whatever.
That's right.
So you're like, well, I want it to be with people that I like that matter to me in the long run. Do you know what I mean? That sounds kind of brutal.
No.
But
But I guess this is where I'm trying to go. I'm talking about those kind of friends that are life-giving. Even those friends, you're going to have disagreements with, right? And so if you're not careful, they'll become the friends that you don't want to hang out anymore with, when in reality they are true life-giving friends, but you've got to be able to put in the work to have those honest conversations. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
I've got some really great friends that I've had massive theological differences with. We see things totally different, but I've got to be intentional to be like, no, I value the friendship over what the theology that they might have. And I'm not talking massive theology. I say massive theology, but I mean, just very different ways of thinking. And I'm going to have to be, and we have these conversations and I'm going to have to be like, you know what? That's okay. They can think that. I can think that. I love and value the life-giving relationship that we have. And we're going to have to be okay to disagree.
Totally.
Right? Because you're not always going to, I don't think you should have friends that always agree with you 100%.
Agreed.
I don't think that's real friendship.
Agreed.
Right?
Yes. And I think, too, because I have a vast array of friends. A lot of my good friends are not Christian at all.
Right.
So I do think that, and then I think a lot of the drama in millennials is Republican versus Democrat.
Huge.
So I think that's probably the biggest one where I have to be more of that's fine. That's who they are. That's fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, I will not be friends with somebody who believes that.
Yeah,
I
think that is super dangerous.
Yeah.
Because then this is such a huge conversation, but the echo chamber. You live in an echo chamber of people that think alike, talk alike, act alike, dress alike. You're like high school, and you're in the jock club, or you're in the whatever
it is. Clique, yeah.
You're in the clique.
Totally.
Yeah.
As an aside.
That's not helpful.
Yeah. What clique were you in high school? Just wondering.
Well, I want you to know I was in the nerd club for sure. No question. I have a whole story about this in high school, which I will not bore our listeners with, but it's pretty classic. And at the end of the day, even the nerds rejected me. So it's pretty bad. I shared this at summer camp with the kids, and they were rolling on the floor laughing when I told them this trajectory of my story. So we'll do this in the podcast one day. So it's crazy.
Well, guys, this was an interesting one.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope that we left you feeling encouraged that you can can be an encourager. If you feel like you're a downer now, like just try something new this week. Try to be an encourager.
I love it. That's for sure.
And if you feel like you don't have the friendships that you're wanting,
that's right.
What ideas do we have to like, really go after a friendship?
Exactly.
Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, I think you need to be intentional. Number one, for the church people that I'm talking to right now, like you need to join a small group. As awkward as that is, join a small group and then go in and try to find your people. The first group that you join might not be your people.
Yeah.
And that's okay. Go to another group and see if you find your people. And if you do find your people, then begin to be intentional by asking people to go out to coffee or dinner or whatever it is.
Go on a walk.
And then go on a walk, whatever it is, and be intentional that way. That's how you start the friendship, especially for people like me that are like post your kids or either in high school or post high school. You got to rearrange your friendships. Be intentional.
Yeah.
And don't give up.
Yes.
Because, people are busy. And so, you got to try again.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
Totally.
So that would be one way in which I would say go out and find some friends.
I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to throw out the challenge again that you had is have your fridge moment.
Yes.
Isn't that what we called it?
Yes, totally. Have a fridge moment.
Hashtag fridge moment. Go on Instagram, post out there.
Yes.
Encourage your friends.
Celebrate the small victories.
Yeah, come on.
Yes.
It's good.
Thanks for watching / listening.
Yes.
Don't forget to follow us. You'll see all of our new episodes as we come out for this season.
So good.
Yes. And if you have anything, we talked about unpopular opinions. We're doing a big thing about sending in your unpopular opinions. If you have one,
we'd love to hear it.
Yes, comment. You can email us at podcast.
She almost had a podcast.
Podcast at crosspointskc.com. Send us in your unpopular opinions. We can't wait to read through those.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.